Hello there, YouTubers, and welcome to another episode of DrCassette's Workshop. On the bench today, we have a Panasonic NV-HS900 Super VHS VCR. It's a recent dump find. Of course, when you come across these Super VHS machines, these older ones, it's always a good idea to hold on to them. If you are into VHS and you do have some tapes that you want to be able to play, these machines are great units, very high quality, relatively reliable, and definitely much better than any of the more recent VCRs. And even if you don't have anything to do with VHS and you're totally not interested, well, these things are worth a lot of money if you put them up onto eBay. Part of the reason for this particular unit, of course, is this. Look at that. Solid aluminum die-cast chassis. This thing has some quality in it. We look at the top cover right here. Still got the sticker on there. It's pretty dirty. But you can see some of the features and functions that it has. Hi-fi stereo, of course. So I brought this home from the dump, and the first thing that I did was I let it dry because it was raining. Then plugged it in, tried to stick in a cassette, and it just wouldn't do anything. It just plain wouldn't do anything. You try to push in a cassette and it wouldn't respond at all. But that somehow managed to fix itself, so my guess is that this has just been sitting around for many years, just being completely unused. What we're going to do in this video is we're going to give this a bit of an overhaul and make sure that everything's fine. And so I've already started, and I've removed the screws that hold the chassis in. Now I want to point this out to you. There is one screw right there. There is another screw right there. There is a screw right there. And this is the tricky bit. You have to release the tab that's in the mechanism, in the loading mechanism that keeps it from loading when there is no cassette in there. You have to release that. You push it in, and it's going to pull in the sled a little bit, but then it's going to recognize that there is no cassette and it's going to come back out. So what you have to do is you push it in, and then you immediately unplug it. And that enables you to reach the screw down in there. So there are 4 screws to release, to free up the mechanism. Tricky bit is only one of them is marked. As you can see, one of them is in fact a rat screw. The other rat screws that you can see, which are right there and right there, there are some more visible up front. You don't want to take those out, because if you do, the loading mechanism is going to come off, and once it's come off, you'll have to realign it. So definitely don't want to go there. So what I will have to do right now is I'll have to release all the cables going to this unit, and then we should be able to just lift out the mechanism. Okay, we got the mechanism taken out and moved to the side. Now, warning! Get rid of all of your drinks, all of your candy, all of your food that you may have sitting along with you in front of the computer screen, because you're about to see something disgusting. And this, in fact, has got to be the most disgusting thing I ever found in any piece of equipment that I've worked on. Now, you may have just seen this, and I saw it too, and I was like, well, that's got to be some sort of a gunk that they pour into these machines to secure pieces into place. Well, now that I've seen this thing, I know what this is. This is rotten candy that some idiot dumped into here. This is going to come out. This has got to come out, I tell you that. I'm not going to touch it. This is moldy. This is absolutely rotten. I mean, you can kind of see the original color of it. That's nasty. Someone must have pushed this in through the loading door, through the tape door. And there are the remains. You can probably see it. And since we got the mechanism out, it is safe to just give this a nice load of circuit board cleaning spray, and I'll try to clean this out a little bit. Well, now that we got the candy removed, we can take a closer look at the mechanism. There it is, as you can see, a front-loading mechanism. And got our head drum right there, amorphous heads. Head amplifier sits right there. And got, well, we got connections that need to come out right there, there. Then this thing unplugs from the circuit board. You could also unplug it under there, but then you'd have to remove the head amplifier. And then there is another connector right there connecting the erase head. So that's all simple enough, I guess. Now, there ain't much going on at the top. Let's take a look at the bottom. And right away I'm noticing something that I really do quite like, and that is I used one of these gear belts instead of just a normal rubber belt that might start slipping. So that's nice. Got the loading motor right there, which actually has its connection right there. So when you reinsert the chassis into the housing, going to make sure that those connections line up with that connector right there. Another thing is this rotary encoder switch right there. That can get dirty, and if it does, the VCR is not going to work properly anymore. However, this is kind of critical because you have to have the alignment done in a certain way. If you get this, if you put this back together with the wrong kind of alignment, it's not going to work anymore. Now, this switch does not appear to be dirty in this VCR, so I'm not going to mess with it. Never touch a running system. Here is another thing that might go wrong with one of these VCRs. You can see this worm gear right there that drives this big gear. This sometimes splits. It's just going to fall apart. It's going to fall off of the motor spindle, and if that happens, obviously the loading is not going to work anymore. Other than this, I can't find anything obviously wrong down here. I'm going to make sure that all the lubricants are nicely distributed, that everything's nicely lubricated. I guess then I can go ahead and put this back into the chassis. However, what I'm going to do with this is, before I put this all back together, I'm going to blow it out with the compressor. I'm going to do that before putting the mechanism back in, because I guess if we get compressed air into the mechanism, it's not going to like it. I got out my multi-purpose grease. Important, it doesn't gum up and it's chemically neutral. And went through the mechanism, applied some to these the tracks on the cast aluminum chassis, some right there, some onto that big gear, and along here. I will admit it doesn't look pretty, but it'll do the job. Okay, I got the chassis back in the machine. It was a little bit confusing because I couldn't really get all the screw holes to line up, but then I remembered one of the feet of the housing was broken off on this corner. So if you pull this up a little bit, all the holes will actually line up. So that's all fine. I did make sure to plug in the connector of the loading motor. That's back in place. Got all the other connections reattached. That one right there, that one right there. That one down there was a little bit tricky. That one going to the head amplifier, and the erase head connector right there. It's quite simple. So now let's go ahead and reapply power. Make sure that this thing still works before we go any further. Let's see what it does. And spit out the sled again that we had to push in order to remove the mechanism. So that's good. Let me go ahead and grab this cassette, see if it... okay, that loads. Made sure the lubrication of the loading mechanism is fine, which it is. Let's go ahead and press play. And it looks like it's going to play. Okay, I did some testing, made sure that it all still works, which it does. Got some grease applied to the tracks up here. Couldn't find anything else that might benefit from some grease, and obviously you don't want to smear it into any random places. Another thing is this. This is a little cleaning wheel, which is actuated by this guide, by this tape guide. If I put in a tape, you can see how that works, or how that could work if it still did work. Okay, that didn't do much of anything. Unload. As you can see, that's kind of broken. As you can see, this cleaning wheel in our recorder is absolutely nasty, so I'm just going to remove it, because if it would work, the only thing it would really do is make the heads even dirtier than they already are. They did use plenty of grease in this mechanism, and the problem is grease is going to dry up eventually, so it is, as a kind of a precaution, a very good idea to spray some of these pivot points with some oil. Like, got some oil into this one, for example. Got some oil into that one right there. That one, and that one. So on and so forth. And that oil is going to dissolve the old grease a little bit. Because obviously there is no way you're going to be able to tear this entire mechanism down to properly remove the old grease and replace it with something new. But I do notice a change. As I already said previously, if you put in a cassette, you really had to push it, and very often the machine just wouldn't respond. We now put in a cassette. Just a little push is enough to make it all work. So that's all quite nice. Another thing that's very important, I can only show you when we actually have this in the playback mode. That right there. Now you may be able to see, if I eject this once again, you can see the pinch roller is driving up. If I put in a cassette, it comes down. This is something that goes wrong quite often, and if only I could find my screwdriver to point it out to you. This shaft has grease on it. That goes dry, that gets old. When it does, this mechanism is going to start sticking. And when it does, you'll often end up with plastic parts getting broken, because the motor is going to apply the force that it has, and that's enough, if this thing is stuck, to break the plastic gears. So also with that, that was actually the first thing I did whenever I got this VCR, is to once again take the oil and spray a little bit onto there. Obviously you don't want to get it all wet with oil, just a little bit is enough. It is now time to clean the tape path. What I've done so far in order to do that is I've soaked cotton swabs into alcohol and went through and cleaned all the guides, erase head. I cleaned the control track head, the audio head, capstan, pinch roller, all the guides on this side. So that is all nice and clean. As for the head drum, that is the critical part, and that's why I'm getting that onto a video. You don't want to get even close to that with a cotton swab, because it takes next to no force at all to just rip out one of these heads or damage it. And once you've done that, you can basically trash the VCR, because the chances that you're going to find a replacement head drum are pretty low. So the method that I have, and that I've had for quite a while now, is I'm just taking a piece of writing paper like this, and as you can see, I'm soaking that into the alcohol, which I have in this little bottle. Not sure if this is in focus. I have the camera manually focused onto the head drum. Anyway, so we take that, it's nice and wet, and we just go ahead, push it up against the head drum, and now don't move this. Don't move it up, don't move it down, don't do anything. Just push it on there. Don't push it too much. And now you just go ahead and you turn the head drum manually, obviously. And you can actually feel the heads gliding across the paper on the other side. You can feel them. And you are cleaning them as you spin the drum. And I'm probably going to edit this video. I'm going to turn it for a while, and then I'll be back. Okay, it's about 30 seconds later now, and still turning the drum. Now I'm going to stop it. Okay, I turn it into a position where there is no head, so we can now take... Oh dear! We can now take away the paper, and would you look at that? Well, yes, that head cleaning procedure was definitely worthwhile. So I'm actually going to go ahead, I'm going to get myself a new piece of paper, soak it into alcohol, and I'm going to repeat this process once more. Here is the result of our work. This was the second go, and as you can see there is still a little bit of dirt on there, but I can't finish this off completely because I ran out of the cleaning alcohol. So this will have to do, but I guess you're all going to agree this already is a major improvement. And this method is quite universal. It works for basically every head drum. As a matter of fact, just a few days ago I used this on something as small and fragile as the head drum of a digital 8 camcorder. We've now pretty much reached the end of our journey. There is nothing else that I can think of that we could service in this. I have even checked the potentiometers. This does have manual level control for recording, all that good stuff. None of the potentiometers are scratchy, so no contact spray required. The power supply in this is good. Haven't seen any bad capacitors. Of course, you do want to make sure that everything down here looks good. Those are the capacitors of the secondary side, and those do like to go bad sometimes. So we're basically now left with the boring part, and that is to clean up the faceplate, which, as you can see, doesn't look all too good. There it is. And even more important, the top cover, because that, you can't really see it on camera, but this thing is absolutely nasty. Here is a tip that I have when it comes to the cleaning. Clean the inside of the display window. For some reason these vacuum fluorescent displays attract dirt, and it all starts sitting on this filter. This spot is what I cleaned off of that window right there. With that all being nice and clean, the display is going to look nice, bright and sharp through that window. And another tip, to polish these plastic parts with scratches in them, use some car polish. And there it is, all back together in one piece, nicely cleaned up, the Panasonic NV-HS900. It does work. Can't show you any pictures because that's going to get me into trouble here on YouTube, obviously. I did finish cleaning up the head drum. I found some more cleaning fluid, and it took me a whopping 7 more pieces of paper to clean this up to a point at which the paper was, well, at which it pretty much remained clean. We zoom in onto the unit. You can see all the features and functions. This thing's got everything. Jog and shuttle wheel right there, of course. It's got everything except for one thing, and that is a time-based corrector. The time-based corrector was one model up, the HS950. Thank you for watching, and see you again soon.